Okay, welcome everybody. Once again, we are the Dream Center at the University of Utah. We appreciate you joining us this morning. Our presentation is called Supporting Dreamers Through Higher Education. We'll be talking a little bit about what that means, what we do, and what kind of services we offer for everybody there. At the end of the presentation, there will be time for questions. If you have any, we'll be happy to chat with you a little bit about it. Remember that this is being recorded, so later on this presentation can be shared with other folks who were not able to join us today. So anything that you share may be recorded in here as well. So thank you very much. Let's go ahead and jump in.
So we want to start the presentation by sharing the different populations that we work with. So we work with undocumented students who are essentially students who don't have proof of lawful status in the country. We also work with dreamers, which would be essentially anyone that would qualify for the DREAM Act. So it's usually undocumented youth. That's who identify as dreamers. And we also work with documented students or individuals. And that's anyone who benefits from the DACA program that was announced by President Barack Obama in 2012. And we'll be talking about DACA in a few slides later on. And then we also work with undocu allies. An undocu ally is anyone who supports the undocumented community as a whole. So when we say the entire undocumented community as a whole, we don't mean just people that support only students or those who are in higher ed, but everyone that is undocumented and is part of that population. So that's a little bit of populations that we work with.
And though we serve mostly the student itself and the students themselves on campus and in our community, we also try to provide services to the family as a whole, because we sometimes understand that it takes everybody to get those services, right? So let's talk a little bit about some of the policies in Utah. So we have several different bills that allow students who are undocumented or mixed status to attend a university in the state of Utah. The first one is called House Bill 144. It was started in 2002. It allows people who have graduated from a Utah high school, have been here for 3+ years in that school, to enroll in an institution. So the institutions we call what it says USHE there, the Utah System of Higher Education, and that's actually 8 different institutions in the state of Utah, mainly most public schools in this state. Once a student signs and submits an affidavit, which is a document that you have to clarify that you qualify for HB 144, and then that gets sent out to the school and they approve it, then you're eligible to go. The cool thing about this is that even though you may not be of legal residency in the state of Utah, you still qualify for in-state tuition. So what that means is you're not paying tuition like an international or out-of-state student would pay, which is averages about 3 times as much. You're paying the same tuition as a Utah high school graduate who would be a resident. So we really push for HB 144 to be signed by all students who qualify. We also have Senate Bill or SB 253, which came into place in 2015. It is again open to Utah high school graduates, and it makes people eligible for private funds administered through those same institutions that we just talked about, right? Regardless of your immigration status. So this means that you can get scholarships that are given through donors privately, and you can still have ways to pay for your tuition.
Yeah, and just something I want to point out is that undocumented students who qualify for SB 253, like let's say you graduate from Utah high school, but you do not have 3 years in that Utah high school, you still qualify for SB 253. So there's some students that may not qualify for HB 144, but still can benefit from SB 253. So you don't have to qualify for one to not qualify for the other. That makes sense. And also all the resources for HB 144 are on our website, and we'll talk a little bit about that in a second. And this is just kind of giving you an overview of what it means to qualify for HB 144. So when you don't qualify for HB 144, you obviously are paying larger amounts, like Chris said. You're looking at 3 times more. And some students that do qualify just don't submit the affidavit and don't really know about that process. So we really just want to remind students that qualify for HB 144 to fill out the affidavit, so you do qualify to pay a lot less money and pay as an in-state resident student, and pay in-state tuition.
Now we're going to talk a little bit about what it means to have DACA, which is the Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals. A lot of people are referred to as being DACA-mented. So that means like you have a certain document, which is essentially a work permit, but I'll explain in just a second here. So this was an executive order signed by Barack Obama in 2012 when he was still president, where he said that students who meet the eligibility criteria can have the right to work and live in the United States. So basically what it means is you get a temporary employment authorization document. It's known as an I-765. That means you can find a job. You get a social security card that's for work only. It is not valid for social security benefits, unfortunately. And you also get excused from deportation proceedings. So basically, as long as you're living and working in the country and eligible for DACA and continue renewing it, you will not be deported as promised by the government at that time. As of right now, that is still being upheld by the current administration, but there are some things that are changing because it was from a different presidency, right? So as of now, the program is renewable, meaning every 2 years you have to reapply for this service. It costs around $500 plus whatever documents you have to gather, plus of course shipping and handling to the government institution that handles that. New applicants as of today, as of last month, the Supreme Court of the United States decided that DACA would remain in place. There was actually an executive order signed by the Trump administration trying to remove this executive order from Barack Obama in 2017. And ever since then, it's been kind of a legal battle up in the air until Supreme Court decided last month that DACA is constitutional, it is legal, and it should remain. However, the current administration with the Department of Immigration and Customs Enforcement, aka ICE, has not been accepting new applications at the moment, and so we're not entirely sure what is happening with that process. If you are qualified for DACA and you feel like you want to apply as a new applicant, we suggest that you speak with an attorney to make sure that your case will be heard in some way. So we are advising caution against filling that out. We are open to having a discussion with you, can answer your questions specifically and know where to direct you if you need that. We actually made a video about what that decision means and what are the current options that you have. You can visit at the website listed at the bottom there, dream.usa.edu, and then our community updates page. So we can get more into the details about DACA individually because a lot of it really depends on case-by-case situations. So we'll definitely be providing more information as we can.
We also, am I echoing? Because I hear myself echoing.
Not on my end.
Oh, okay. But anyway, we just wanted to share some DACA facts because there are some confusions when individuals have DACA and what that means and what they qualify for. So when you have DACA, you unfortunately do not qualify for any type of federal student aid. So that includes FAFSA, loans, Pell Grants, work study, or any state aid, or any Utah publicly funded scholarships. So pretty much scholarships that are funded by the state of Utah. So you don't qualify for those, but you do qualify, like we mentioned, for private scholarships and the other resources that the Dream Center can provide you. And then also we want to just explain that DACA is not the DREAM Act. DACA is not permanent residency. It's not a green card, and it's not a pathway to residency or citizenship, which is why there still needs to be work to be done. We need a permanent solution for our students and for the undocumented community together. So yeah.
And the Dream Center at the University of Utah partners with various organizations to try and continue that dream for everybody, right?
You want to do everything with this?
Diane, if you can take the slide and start it, that would be great, since you put this one together.
Yes. So as Chris was mentioning, not only are DACA cases case by case, but also supporting our undocumented students to higher education is also very case by case. Every student has different things that they're eligible for, different privileges and things like that, depending on if they have DACA or not. So every case is very different. So this is just kind of a diagram that shows kind of what to do depending on what you qualify for and what you don't. But the first part that we start with is just letting students know, especially those that are still in high school. I know you're obviously entering the University of Utah, so you're no longer in high school, but we'd like to let high school students know that they can qualify for CE classes and AP classes without their immigration status affecting that. So we always recommend students that are in high school to take advantage of those classes. That way they can get into college with some type of college credit that they paid a very small amount to get. We also recommend our high school students to be involved in leadership opportunities, create a really strong resume and personal statement, because most of our scholarships that are privately funded really look at those two things. And we can always help students that are in high school or current undergraduate students at the University of Utah with your resume and personal statement. We do that a lot, so we will be happy to help you out with that process. And then the next one is talking about HB 144. So as we mentioned, HB 144 allows you to pay in-state tuition at all Utah public institutions. But when you don't qualify for HB 144, that doesn't mean that you always have to pay as out-of-state or an international student. Actually, every summer semester at all Utah public institutions, they offer in-state tuition to everyone, regardless of status. So sometimes we have students that don't qualify for HB 144 for whatever circumstance. And sometimes we have to create a different academic plan for them. So sometimes we tell them to just take summer classes or take summer and fall and then take spring off. So there's different ways to transition from that policy. That way students can still achieve their educational goals and not completely put a stop on them because of HB 144 not being able to qualify for that. Do you want me to keep going? Okay. And then with DACA, so obviously, like Chris mentioned prior, because of this current administration, the DACA program has been under attack, and a lot of our students that are entering higher ed do not have DACA, so they're not eligible to work lawfully in the United States. So some things that we're trying to get some different centers and different nonprofit organizations to do is to provide scholarships for our students. So pretty much work a certain amount of hours and get a scholarship. And also, you can also qualify for obviously private scholarships like full rides that would pay for your education, but also provide you some sort of stipend. So there's ways to be able to still bring some income for you all. And we can always support you with that and searching for those things. I'm gonna move my screen. Your face is over. And then there's obviously SB 253. So if you do not qualify for SB 253 because you did not graduate from a Utah high school, there are scholarships outside of the University of Utah or the state of Utah public institution scholarships. So there's some that are national, that it doesn't matter where you graduated from or what school you're attending, as long as it's in the United States. And we have a few of those in our website that we always gear students that don't qualify for SB 253 to apply for. So the main point with this diagram is to let students know that regardless of what you qualify for or what you don't qualify for, there's options out there for you. Everybody's journey is very different, and we know that the undocumented experience is very complex for every student. So as a center, we always just try to make sure that we don't give you a no for an answer, and we don't just let your status stop you from continuing your education. We'll try to create a plan with you and support you along the way. So.
Right. Thank you, Diane. And bottom line, like you said, we're here for you. And if you have specific questions about any of that stuff, we want to give you the tools for you to be empowered to continue your own education. So we will provide you with a guideline, we will provide you with advice, but ultimately, you know that you have the right to go to school and you have the tools to make it happen. So thank you, Diane. And of course, if you'd like to visit us and get more information, this is our basic ways to contact us. On the right of the screen, you see the Dream Center website. It just talks about who we are, what we do. We have several different links about scholarships, specifically for students of mixed status, information for our undocumented allies on how to help, how to support faculty and staff, and a way for donations as well. So if anybody wants to continue providing monies for us to continue serving our students, we can do that. There's a lot more information on there. We have a lot of community resources, links to different partners. We have informational videos. We have all kinds of stuff on there ready for you. At the bottom of that website, there's also a way for you to contact us directly. If you don't have our email addresses, we can share with you as well. But also on there, it'll have a way to send a direct chat message to us that Diane and I both actually oversee. And that website again is dream.utah.edu. The one on your left is Educate Utah or Educate Utah. And this website is a separate entity, but it functions via the Dream Center. So we still oversee it. And what this is, it explains what SB 253 is, what HB 144 is, what other laws and legislation have to do, and it has a list of scholarships by month. So you can actually start scrolling and see what scholarships are due in the month of July, in the month of August, etc., so on and so forth. It's a really great resources that's connected to us for you to know. And again, that's educate-utah.org or educate-utah.org.
And then before we move on to questions, we just want to let you all know that we are currently located in the annex, but we will be transitioning to the union. So hopefully, if campus reopens or whatever the situation is for fall and spring, we will be there in the union. And we also have social medias. So we have an Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter, and we're really active on those platforms. You can feel free to DM us, comment on any pictures that we post, and ask us questions through those outlets. We're really good at responding back to those. You don't always have to email us to get our questions answered. We're really flexible on how to respond to your questions and things like that. But yeah, that's pretty much our presentation. Samantha,
Thank you.
thank you for joining us.